It's a pleasure to welcome you to our conference. So just let me start by asking you, I think TCS is the largest company in India by market cap, and over the last 5 years, it has grown at a pace much faster than the industry. What in your view has been the basic source, I would say, for this charisma?
First, thank you for having me. Good morning to all of you. I think we have done many fundamentals. Well, we have focused on the basics, I would say. Externally, we have brought in an enormous customer centricity. While it may look like a cliche, we have aligned everything that we do to what are the possible demands could be. And we have done that by structurally changing ourselves. And internally, we have created a lot of agility. 5 years ago, we reorganized ourselves as smaller units, and I think it's well known in the market. And we have been able to generate a lot of speed and agility, at the same time leverage the power that a large organization brings. The third thing I would say is that we have significantly invested ahead. If you take digital, I think we picked the trend much earlier. If you think we can we train people, whether it is in terms of creating frameworks, methodologies, intellectual property, talent, setting up collaboration centers, innovation centers, investing in a design center in California. If you look at the whole gamut of things, we did it much early, and we significantly improved our margin and then used that cushion to be able to invest ahead of the curve. So I think we have done many of the things that one should do to run a business which is dynamically changing, and that's what we've done.
So, sir, just taking from that question, we had a lot of MNC firms doing quite well. Infosys at that time was the leader. Just wanted to understand your viewpoint on how you, at that point of time, thought and then brought it along to this, and how are you with this execution of what you thought? Where would you place yourself?
It's very difficult to start describing about every company, and I would rather focus on us. And as I said, 5 years ago we clearly said what our management philosophy is, what our behavior is going to be as a team, what our aspiration is going to be, and how we are going to focus in terms of customers, in terms of markets, in terms of industries, offerings, technology changes, what kind of investments are we going to make. I think we kind of had a very systematic plan, and then we drove to that plan. I think looking back, I'm pretty happy with where we are. We have a very solid platform. We have a fantastic order book, and we do believe that there is a significant potential in this industry, because this industry is in the forefront of change for every other industry. The technology is only getting more intense. So as long as we can continue to evolve and don't take anything for granted, there is an opportunity.
So we had seen the Indian software industries 5 years prior to this 5 years used to grow at about 20-25%. Growth is now in the mid-teens, and how do you see that going forward?
See, it's hard for me to pick a number, but all I would say is that there is enormous potential, because many times people have talked about shrinking budgets, etc., but the budgets have not shrunk actually. The reason for that is when you look at the industry as a whole, we are an expanding industry from multiple counts. First, I would say the industry as a whole, we are addressing a lot more of the pie than we ever did before, because there are many players who are scaling up. So from a offering point of view, from consulting through operations, almost every segment can be addressed now. Digital point of view, and from a markets point of view, it's not focused on one or two countries. We've got a fantastic footprint now. So we are continuing to expand. The second aspect is there is more technology in everything. There is more technology in a car, more technology in healthcare, more technology in financial services industry. Technology is redefining every industry.
Yes.
So it's an expanding pie. So as long as we don't remain status quo, the strategy and the execution that we did, which brought success, is not guaranteed to be the same for the future.
Absolutely.
So as long as we can recognize that and then continue to make our bets judiciously, execute well, and aspire, I think there's industry can grow. There is no issue at all.
So just to look at you mentioned about being ahead of time. So one of the things which I look at and when I hear it's the digital technologies which are coming into place. Do you think would that be a disruption to the conventional way in which the tech has moved, or do you think it's a big opportunity as we go ahead, and how are you positioned for that?
It is both. It is both. It's a disruption. It is an opportunity. It is a disruption because we basically say that there are 5 core technologies, and we say digital, and then there are many next level technologies which are put together because of these 5 technologies. For example, the 5 technologies are the mobile, cloud, social, big data analytics, and robotics. And when I say the resulting technologies, Internet of Things, hyper localization. Okay, these are things that are enabled by these core technologies. And if you take all these technologies, they fundamentally will alter every business. They will change the business model, they will change the business process, they will change the customer segments, they will change the channels, they will change how an organization is internally looking at itself. So all of these changes is going to happen in every industry, and it is happening as we speak.
Okay.
And that's a big opportunity.
Yes.
And there are disruptions in our own industry. Okay, and we are already looking at robotic automation.
Okay.
In the way we manage stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big opportunity as long as we can catch the wave. All I was trying to say is that we have identified this several years ago. So we have invested in skills, invested in intellectual property, invested in frameworks, and we have partnership with a large number of companies, and we have engagements with large number of companies. We have, for example, for one of the banks in Europe, we have launched a total mobile bank.
Correct.
Okay, so such
That's a big
disruptions are
opportunity
going to happen
in
as
that
we go.
sense. So you talked about part of the disruption being you have a very large workforce, about 300,000 plus. How do you communicate to them? They also need to be communicated in the fashion that, okay, this is not a disruption for a company and this is an opportunity ahead. So how do you transition that, this change in technology, the change in the way in which one is doing things to this whole group of people?
Again, this is a transformation we have gone through and will continue to go through. We have a very solid social media platform internally,
Okay.
which leverages all the technologies, and we have more than 3,600. Last time I checked, we had 3,600 communities. There will be more communities. Communities are things about which people are interested. It could be a technology, it could be an industry, it could be sanitation, it could be anything. So our people communicate. So it's a network. I don't see it as a top-down. In fact, what has happened is It has brought in super agility in the company. People who know each other communicate, management chains communicate, people who don't know each other communicate. So we've got a lot of tools built around it on this social media platform, and that's our primary way to stay connected.
Yeah, so I mean, it is amply reflected in the industry-beating performance you have been delivering. So I'm sure that's working really well. Also, you also pointed out that we have invested ahead of time. I think not only in technologies but also in geographies. So you have recently invested in LATAM, Japan, Germany. How do you see that, and how is that shaping up?
So I think we have done well in LATAM. I think market recognizes that, and we have made the investment in Japan. It's only 4 months now. I think we see a big potential. See, because it's not about Germany, Japan, or LATAM. It's about how do you bring technology to work for large companies. And large companies by definition are global. So how do you bring the best of technology to make it work for them? And it's our ability to partner at a thought leadership level and bring it down to execution. That's our strength. And previously we used to only do execution because the scale and size was not there, brand was not there. Today, with the success we have had, there is a strong recognition, so we are able to partner with companies in working with them on what needs to be done, but carry it through.
So, post 2008, a lot of developed economies have this thing about protecting their own economy, and Indian companies going into their territory sometimes has been a sore point. How are you seeing this coming forward now?
So I think, we should be prepared for certain level of regulatory changes as long as there are issues with regard to jobs in any country.
Yes.
It's not only limited to the US, it's not limited only to the developed economies, it's also for developing economies. You will see that all the time. And that will require us to be compliant to whatever changes and then adjustments to the business model. So fundamentally, we should not forget one fact. Our business exists because we are able to make a meaningful and material impact with the customers we work with.
Correct.
As long as we can keep that intact and we can keep asking that question, I call it stay relevant. Stay close and stay relevant.
Yes.
As long as you can do that, I think the rest is all.
Rest is all not.
Rest is all business. Work. Rest is all work. There will always be work.
So, so when you say that one has to take this into account while looking at these geographies, any particular example you can give that that has helped you overcome this aspect of protectionism?
Sometimes we hire people locally. We set up delivery centers locally. In the US, we have a very large local workforce today. We are one of the largest recruiters in the US.
Right.
If you take the absolute numbers, we are one of the largest recruiters.
Absolutely.
And same thing is in UK, same thing is in Canada, same thing is in Australia, same thing in Mexico. Same thing is in Montevideo, Uruguay. We are the largest supplier in Uruguay.
Oh, wow.
As simple as that. So, I think sometimes you do it because the business model warrants it, but whatever you do, it has to get tied to the business model. We always do things which is completely aligned with the business model. We never do something that works from a compliance point of view, doesn't work from a business model point of view. When you start doing that, then there is not going to work. So you've got to find a solution which is always fully integrated with the business model in which you operate. The business model for us has 4 elements. It has to have the right customer base, it has to have the right employee base, and it has to have the ability to deliver what we promise, and finally, and most importantly, it has to make financial sense.
Absolutely.
If it doesn't do, then we don't do it.
So just coming to this point about, you said that you have been recruiting very heavily in the other countries, and we have seen that the margins of now software companies. How do you see that going forward? Because this would mean additional costs in that sense, or do you not see that as?
See, I don't think so. See, fundamentally, we design a business model, right? And we have said that we are comfortable in the range of 26 to 28%, and we have been staying in that course.
Correct.
So whatever we do, we design around
this
philosophy.
Okay.
And if it changes, we'll come back to you. But we are pretty sure that that's something that we can execute.
Okay. So I will want to throw this floor open to questions from the investors. Anybody wants to ask questions? There's one question from that side.
Good morning, sir.
So can you give your name, please?
This is Amit here from Arcade Capital. So my question is, like you rightly pointed out that TCS was way ahead of everybody in terms of discovering the train and investing in the digital side. My question is, at the industry level, do you find, or what's your insights into about other companies? Are they prepared? Are they well invested today? And if not, do you see, this disruption can take down, many of your competitors or companies generally? Is that the case?
Generally, I can't talk for other companies. I can only talk about my company.
I'm just talking about the industry level. Do you see the?
I think, in general, the Indian services industry, IT services and consulting industry has been very resilient. Because this is not the first technological shift. You can say that this time the technology, it's a very fast-paced, disruptive shift. But the point is, the industry has shifted several times. And people have adopted. And they have followed different strategies and people have adopted. So the industry has seen huge potential. But apart from that, I think I can't really pick companies.
Shall I take it as more or less now companies have caught up and they're prepared for the shift?
Genuinely, I don't know. How do I know? You are asking me to do an assessment of other companies. I can't.
The second point is that taking forward the same digital investment, can we really say that a mass scale adoption of digital can actually create higher growth opportunities for companies? Can TCS grow at a higher rate than the historicals because of the positioning here?
See, I don't give guidance, right? So I can't really tell you what is the growth rate at which we will grow. So I have qualitatively clarified a couple of things. One is the pie is expanding and it's very disruptive. And we are investing heavily and we will continue to invest. And I see there are a lot of growth opportunities. But this is something that we are going to constantly do because this industry is going to keep changing. It's a very dynamic industry because the technology is just changing so fast. More and more things are becoming possible. We are in the early game of data yet. Okay, we are in the channels game now. And the channels will be a lot more leveraged with data, right? And data, everybody is building data, but to get the insights and then start to fully leverage that data, it's going to be a game. The next few years is going to play out, and that will show very interesting possibilities. So I think there is enormous opportunity. What rate we will grow at, we'll see.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Anurag here from Canada HSBC Life Insurance. My question is that TCS has always been ahead of the curve in investing, in entering new technologies, investing in people, sales, new geographies. My question is, how do you institutionalize it? How do you make sure that it goes on, it continues, even in future and to the next technology, to the next...
I think it is institutionalized. That's why we are being who we are.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But this is something which is, it's a soft skill kind of thing.
Yeah, there is a culture, there is a institutionalization, but at the end of the day, whoever is the manager and whoever is the CEO has to make calls at that point in time, depending upon very many factors. No decision is forever. You can never use the word never and forever, right? So these are very dangerous words. But the point is, if at all our investment cycle is only getting better, is because of the scale. Simply because today we can do a lot more stuff than what we could do 10 years ago. Just the sheer balance sheet and the margins and size. The 300,000 employees is not a small number. So we can move things. We can materially move things. So given all that, we recognize the strength we have. We also recognize the opportunity and all the challenges in terms of the fast-paced change, the disruption, etc. So we kind of balance, make bets, and try a lot of things, and then scale things when we see potential, and kill things when we don't see potential. So that's something that you got to do constantly.
Thanks.
Good morning. I am Padmaja from LIC of India. My question again, forgive me for talking about your competitor again. We just can't speak about TCS in absolute terms. We have to be a little relative sometimes.
I can choose not to answer, right?
No, this is more of a general nature.
Luckily, it's not an exam for me.
Yeah. Coming back to that, you are investing in future technologies. And you mentioned about the robotic automation. While recently Infosys is talking about something called investing in artificial intelligence and design thinking. To be frank, I didn't understand what is design thinking in terms of the digital technologies. Do you have anything to say on this?
Again, I don't want to comment on other companies.
It's not about the company, it's about
I think from our point of view, all I would say is that several disruptions are possible. Okay, there are disruptions in terms of business models primarily because you get to know the context. Okay, you are operating at the context. What do you mean by that? If you are a bank, if you are a retail company, if you are any consumer-facing business or enterprise-facing business, let's say consumer-facing business, and when you get into an interaction with that consumer, at that point, today you have the ability to real-time bring the context. Context is what is your relationship with the consumer? What is the relationship of that consumer with all the other consumers that may be your customers or may not be your customer? What has been the spending pattern of the consumer? Anything you want to know, all that can be real-time made possible. And how real-time you want to be, you want only your internal data, whether you want your internal data and social media data, all those things are possible. So that actually brings very interesting possibilities. When you're walking into a store, for that retail store, there are very interesting possibilities to clearly say, if this person is walking into the store today, you can almost say, these are the 5 things probably this person is looking to buy. Okay, as an example. And immediately you can bundle things, you can do online promotions, you can do many things. Same thing in a banking scenario, same thing in an insurance scenario, same thing in a travel scenario. So all these things are possible today because of these technologies, and everything is real-time. And it's just you got to put the technology and you got to get the data behind it. And then you got to train people how to use these technologies, how to make these decisions. So it is a holistic exercise. then how do you give an experience? At the end of the day, customers love experience, right? So how do you give experience in a physical face-to-face scenario? How do you give experience in a channel scenario? What kind of an experience you can give when a person comes via a mobile device, right? So in this context, sometimes this context can be used to give an experience without any human touch. So I can go on and on, use a lot of different technology names and so on and so forth, but fundamentally there are very, very interesting possibilities, and we are investing all of that. We talk about automation or robotics, etc. See, simple things. If you take a robo, previously robo had very little power because it had the mechatronics, right? It could move the things and it could do a given task. Today, the power of the robo is infinite because it can be controlled from the cloud. So which means that you can throw infinite data at it. The real-time analytics of the context that you have, you can pass it on to the robo real-time. Processing power can be enormous. So the robot need not be a physical robot. Same thing, it can be in a software robot in our language. So in our BPO business, if you are doing a BPO manually, the whole thing how you can automate. If you are doing a back office in LIC, how can that entire back office be automated? It is possible, and we have got a lot of tools for it, a lot of software robots we have built. Okay? So, I don't know whether I answered your question.
Yeah, this is volume-wise and opportunities-wise, this is creating enormous effect on the company.
See, these are things which will generate huge productivity on one side, and then growth opportunities because you are able to sell more. See, we have the opportunity today to impact on both sides of the equation. How can we help customers to grow? The basic philosophy is that as long as you know this is the need of the customer, this is what the customer is looking for, this is what you can sell, and then you make sure the back-end systems that based on the pattern analysis, guys, you're going to need this much stock you're going to need. So you've got to integrate the whole thing. There's no point in giving the need but not having the stock, right? So end-to-end you can help giving insights and help the companies to grow. On the other side, you can bring in enormous productivity.
One last thing on this. You said about the productivity. Do you really think that these kind of things will improve your, already you are at the peak, 86.3, you are having the utilization levels.
Don't worry about percentages.
That's still...
See, we will keep adjusting the percentage depending upon where we need to be, right? See, there are things we have to worry about all the time, which is customers, their business model, and what do they need in order to succeed. Everything else can be adjusted. And we need to worry about employees, what skills they need, what tools they need. Right? And also we have to worry about delivering numbers. And everything else is...
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Sachin from LSC Namora. You said the pie is growing. However, we are growing much faster than the pie. And one of the reasons or the core advantage is the cost, that is people cost. With technology and becoming more relevant and people advantage or the cost advantage reducing, where is being an Indian IT company, how the competitive advantage sustains, or is it kind of AB?
Sir, I would humbly disagree with you. Because this low cost advantage is something that we have talked about 20 years ago. For some reason, we are unwilling to remove that. Because every company today has access to the same talent pool. Every company today has presence in every geography. You know the numbers. You take any company, they all have access to the same pool, same scale. It's not that we are the only ones who have a large presence in India or large presence in Latin America. So I don't think that the labor cost advantage is the reason that some companies do better than other companies. That's thing of the past. And we somehow keep persisting with that in our mind. That's not true at all. Okay? So today the success for companies is purely strategy, execution, what impact you bring to bear on the customer. As simple as that. And if you can sustain that by doing the right things, you will survive. And we can deliver growth. And if you take it for granted, you will perish.
So thank you. In terms of developed markets, we're seeing the hollowing out of many middle management jobs because of the increases in productivity through technology. In a very broad sense, where do you see job creation in developed markets? Which industries are going to create new jobs? I see plenty of industries where there's going to be less jobs.
I think it's a very complex question to answer because I really can't give a holistic answer. But I would give 2 or 3 insights from what I have learned. I think it is broadly, most places it is a skills mismatch. The industry and the demand for certain skills in every industry is changing fast. So how fast can we bring people reskill is going to be the fundamental. Reskilling is fundamentally important. Second thing is mobility is important. And these are the 2 things I see. But there are many new industries that are coming in every different segment. Data is going to play a fundamental role. And even whether it's automotive, whether it's aerospace, whether it's retail, whether it's every single industry, there is a huge Internet of Things we talk about in manufacturing. Huge amount of change, 3D printing, that will bring its own set of possibilities, but all of them will require new skills. And so we've got to be worrying about, it's not only for developed markets, it's equally true for India. I mean, it's in India, I think, I don't know the exact number, but if you take the next 7-8 years, we'll at least be putting another 100 to 125 million people into the working pool. And so what's their skill requirement? Right? So because they are going to finish an engineering degree or a science degree or a commerce degree, they're going to be coming into the working pool. And we've got to be making sure that the right skill is there. It all need not be only technical skills. It's going to be a variety of skills. So skilling is a big challenge in every market, in every economy, no matter whether you're developed or developing economy.
There's one question.
Good morning, sir. This is Vijay Sanda from IDBI Federal. So last 10-20 years, what we see, the growth was being entirely dominated by US, and of late the impetus has been more on the European side. So which are the other geographies that you see will drive the growth in next decade, if I need to actually look at, be it in Asia, because Japan you talked about has been under-penetrated market by the global, as well as China, and we looking at India, and what are the other geographies which will drive the growth from here on?
Sir, the thing that we have to keep in mind is every market has potential, but every market has its characteristics. Let's not forget that the biggest spend on technology is the US. It has been so and it will remain so. So in my opinion, it will continue to be so for the simple reason that there are very, very, very large companies in the US, and they are always investing. New companies are coming, new technologies are being experimented. So it will continue to be a market with a tremendous spend on technology. So growth will continue to come from the US. But there are other markets, Japan you mentioned, and we have taken a bet on Japan and we've gone there. So we do believe that that market offers a lot of potential. That is not to say that everybody will go to every market. Market is so large, and there are so many countries, and everybody need not necessarily place the bet on the same countries. And each market has its nuances. Non-English markets, you can say, but even within the non-English speaking markets, there are huge differences between countries. And it does take a lot of effort and certain changes in order to be able to get yourself prepared to work in a market. And there are so many things you can do. So these are bets that individual companies will make. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. This is Prateek from GC Investments. Two questions. One, I think in terms of themes. So for example, over the next say 3 to 5 years, according to you, which all verticals? I think you have some smaller verticals which are growing much faster in YOY terms. Do you foresee that coming in front and taking a meaningful share of your overall revenues? If it's like say energy, utility, media, entertainment, healthcare, public services, you guys are also quite bullish on SMB, and you have also launched a platform of ION. Basically, what is the outlook of those mini verticals? Where you see that moving in say 3 to 5 years space? And secondly, in terms of SMAC, I think we have seen some of your larger peers like say IBMs and all, they were not able to, or their strategy is largely through acquisition. So I think if you look at some stats, I think IBM has spent somewhere around $17–18 billion just to take up or build their analytics practices, and same is the case with say cloud and all. So is it fair to assume that for India IT industry as a whole, and especially for TCS, if one has to look at SMAC, I think it would be acquisition-led rather than, so it's basically a buy versus build. Thanks.
Prateek, I think both are pretty involved questions. On the first question, it's pretty hard to say which industries will grow at the expense of which other industry. That's what you're asking. My first statement is that while we may be large from, if you look at it, okay, we are a X billion-dollar company and so on, in the overall scheme of things, we still have a lot of room to grow in every industry in which we operate. We think all the 10 industries we operate offer enormous potential. BFSI is our largest segment, but BFSI will go through a lot of change. You will see digital banks. You will see the whole retail banking evolve to the new paradigm. You will see a huge transformation in the cost per trade in capital markets. The whole trading engines, how do you build new generation trading engines? And what is your back office post-trade? The entire settlement process you take. And if you take insurance, same thing. The entire policyholder servicing. Okay, how do you handle open books? How do you handle closed books? How do you go self-service? I mean, the entire business process, the value chain, if you take, there will be a huge change, and we are seeing that already, and you will see us play big in all these areas because it's our strength, and we have a lot of domain expertise, we have a lot of intellectual property, we have invested heavily, so we partner with see, we still don't work with many banks, even though we work with many banks, we still have a lot of banks to work with. Same thing in retail. Is going to be a fundamental change because of the pressure of the business model change. The retailers are bringing on traditional players. The traditional players have got huge strengths. And CPG companies all along depended only on retailers to get their information. Now they are trying to want to know directly about the consumers. Huge play. A huge, same thing I can talk about utilities. Utilities segment is opening up only now. It's compared to telcos it's lagging behind. The telcos have gone through major change from the network players or the operators to players like Apple and Amazon, to players like WhatsApp. Everybody is riding on the network. So what is going to happen to the utility network, the fiber they have put in, how are they going to monetize? And there are many companies targeting that segment. There's a huge play in the utility segment. And I can go on and on about travel and every other segment. So all the segment in which we operate, we understand the value chain. If you take in banking, if I explain to you banking, same thing in retail, we understand what does it take to transform the store. How do you link the whole store in the cloud to front office, to merchandising, to planogram, to replenishment, to the whole thing, we understand the value chain. Same thing in travel, same thing in hospitality, whether it is revenue management, whether it is loyalty, whether it is fares, pricing. All of these things have got potential. And if you take the infrastructure, the industry is in large parts tied to a lot of legacy infrastructure and heterogeneous infrastructure. There are global companies, there are regional companies, and one of the trends in the next few years is going to be how do you create a future-ready infrastructure. That could mean a combination of on-premise, private cloud and public cloud. And how does that tie into the applications that ride on it? What stays as applications? What goes into package? What goes into SaaS? I mean, there are enormous possibilities. So the good thing is that TCS fortunately has a very strong platform. And we recognize these opportunities. So we've got to make our bets. And if we play well, there are multiple ways to grow. And so it's very difficult for me to sit here and then say 30% will from here, 17% will come from them. I'm not going to make that mistake.
So one question which I had, one last question, I think we are running out of time. The European companies, the European countries have seen now deceleration once again, and TCS has been strategically very well positioned and they have had superlative growth. How do you see that, panning out?
I think it's the same thing. I think Europe has some of the finest companies, and I don't see some of them are pure European companies with pure European footprint, or some with national footprint, or some with a global footprint. And our value proposition is different for each one of them. Okay, right? So, see, fundamentally, what do we bring to the table? We understand the value chain. We understand the business process. We bring talent. Then we can understand what their current footprint is. We can work with them in thinking through what the future possibilities are. Okay. And then we can use it.
That's the answer. So I think we have run out of time, and I thank you very much for being with us, and thank you all of you for being with us as well.
Thank you for having me. Thanks a lot.